What say we get to the news?
Good evening, Mr. Listen now for South America and all the ships and clippers at sea. Let's go to press.
News.
Ladies and gentlemen, if we have gotten you onto the 18XX phenomenon, we apologize. And yet we have to tell you that there's another 18XX game coming out. So 18 Mag is the new 18XX game that is just about to come out, and it's about the Hungarian railway system. It plays 2 to 6 players. It plays in the average amount of time, but it seems to be, from the description, it seems to be quite a different 18XX. First of all, there are 13 railway companies, and they operate in numerical order. They do not vary based on stock valuation, which is interesting. Also, the owning shares in the company and operating the company is handled in a slightly different way than usual. Another thing, all trains are available in this game from the very beginning. Now, because of cost, you might not be able. You might still be buying the smaller trains and working your way up to the bigger ones. But if you get a windfall early in the game, you can skip way ahead for higher trains. And trains do not rust in this game. That's a lot for people that don't understand 18XX. Generally, you're buying these small trains that go short distances and make you small amounts of money, so that you can afford more money to buy the next level of trains. But the next level of trains don't come out until all or almost all of the trains of a particular level are already purchased. And as you work your way up, you need to keep making that money, because once the level 4 trains come out, for instance, the level 1 trains become obsolete. They rust out, and you get one more use of them at most, and then they are dead to you. That you've just, that's sunk cost. You've lost that money. Not having that and changing that up, that sounds to me like this could be a really interesting 18XX game. Jesse, you've played 1846 with me, correct?
Totally not. I have never played an 18XX game.
Are you serious? And oh my goodness.
Every time I mention this,
I say the same thing.
You get, yeah. And then you say, well, I have to show you some of these games. And I'd love to.
Yeah, but then the world fell apart. The world, I don't.
Are none of these on Tabletop Simulator?
Actually, there is a great site for online 18XX play. That is specifically for 18XX play. It's one of the best places to play online. I just don't personally think that I can play a 6-hour stabby take that game, which almost all of these are, online. Yeah. Right? I need to be sitting across from people for that. That's me personally. Like, other people don't have a problem with that at all. But for me, it's
like to see the pain in their face. I get it.
Yeah, listen, I think this is going to be part of what we talk about when we talk about, the this week's segment, which is what games flourished in this period. I don't think anything flourished per se, but what games did well within the new format situations that we were thrust into, and what ones didn't. Right? I think 18XX actually did fairly well for a subset of people, because there is a really good implementation on there, but not everybody that likes these kinds of games would like them in this situation, and I kind of fall into that category. So what can you do? Next up, Jesse, you are a lover of social deduction games. There's a 2-player game called Inhuman Conditions that came out in 2018. That is going to get a bigger release. It's going to be coming out now. Shut Up and Sit Down just did a review of it, and it seems really interesting. It's from the co-creators of Secret Hitler and Better Myths. It is set in a Blade Runner type situation, and it is 5 minutes long, 2 players, and it's basically interrogation and conversational judo. It seems like, Jesse, that Santa went into his workshop and said, I'm going to create a game just for Jesse. Right?
That sounds great.
Right?
Yeah. I'm looking at it right now. It's like, I didn't know about this. I literally just ordered it.
Robots, yes, right. Robots have to answer the investigators' questions without arousing suspicion, but they have a specific malfunction in their ability to converse, right? Humans can speak freely, but there are problems with that as well, because if you don't say something right, you could seem like a robot. This is,
Yeah.
you know, I don't think we could play this with Paul because Paul just sounds like a robot almost all the time. So it's a really tough thing. But this is going to be. This looks incredible. I have to say, if this works as well as it seems like it might, I really, really, really want to check this out. And I got to say, one of the first people I want to play this with is you, Jesse. I think this is your wheelhouse right here.
Totally. Oh my gosh, this looks great.
Yeah.
All right.
Yeah, Unmatched is our next title. Unmatched has been coming out with set after set, and they've had some really great combinations. This one is the weirdest legendary set to go with their Unmatched game, and this one is Little Red Riding Hood versus Beowulf. For those that don't know, Unmatched is a player versus player skirmish game that does some really great, very creative things with a board that is color coded, and the colored regions act sort of as range markers. Right, anything within the same color is one range band, and so on and so forth. It's some great ideas. They started off doing this with public domain characters. So they would have, so they had all sorts of Robin Hood and all those characters in the public domain. Then they went to some more branded characters that they got the rights to, and now they're going back to Little Red Riding Hood and Beowulf, with public domain as they get. I would love to see, like, Beowulf. I get. I'm down. I know what that set is going to be. I would love to see what the Little Red Riding Hood set is.
Yeah.
I mean, what?
That'd be cool.
Yeah, right. It sounds pretty interesting. In other news, we have a new Capstone Games release. If you don't know Capstone, there are a few things that me personally that I put down on auto buy. I think Maddie has more things on auto buy than I do. I think Jennifer has more things on auto buy than I do. I think I'm conservative in this regard. I will auto buy a Vitala Serta game. That's probably sure, right? I can't think of a situation in which I wouldn't, unless it was clearly a complete departure from what he does. I would auto buy. There's a bunch of things that I would auto buy. The Splotter, the next Splotter game. I'm
sure.
There's no question I'm going to get it. But as far as publishers, Capstone Games comes the closest to a publisher that I would auto buy from. They have had such a track record recently. They've been on such a roll. Like Gaia Project is theirs. Crystal Palace, which I absolutely love. Pipeline, Watergate, The Estates, right? I mean, Terra Mystica, Irish Gauge, Maracaibo, Bus. They reprinted a Splotter. They're absolutely amazing. I think their taste is absolutely impeccable, and they have a new game that is available for pre-order. Coffee Traders. Pre-order is going to end January 23rd, and it's estimated to ship May 1st. We'll see if that date holds. These are interesting times, but there's a good chance that it will. Coffee Traders happens in the 1970s and the future of coffee farming. It's sort of when fair trade standards came into being, and it is an economic engine game centered around coffee plantations. It looks good. There is a tabletop simulator mod for it, I believe, so people are starting to play it. Since you have until January 23rd to pre-order, my recommendation is this is a Capstone release. It should be taken seriously. I would go on Tabletop Simulator and check it out. See, try before you buy, maybe, and see if it's for you. But as I said, I'm kind of down with that. Are you a big Java hound?
A Java hound? Oh,
yeah,
yes.
Coffee.
Well, yes. You mean like as far as like games about coffee, or you mean drinking?
I'm talking about drinking coffee, but I'll also accept. I'll accept either. Can you name 3 games in which coffee is featured? There you go. How about that?
Puerto Rico.
Yes, good. That was my first thought too. My first thought was, Puerto Rico. There's coffee in Puerto Rico.
On the spot. What's the? I'm trying to remember if what's your favorite restaurant building game? What's that called again?
Yes. Food Chain Magnate.
Food Chain Magnate. That has coffee in it, right?
The expansion does have coffee. That's
Right.
two. Well done, sir. Well done. It's surprisingly not that easy. It's,
Wait, I got one more.
Yep.
What's that bean game? Come on. Bonanza?
Bonanza, boom! You did it. That's awesome. I think we might have also accepted Teotihuacan. I'm not sure if the beans in that game are a count, but no, you nailed it. That was it. I literally, when I said three, it's because I could name three off the top of my head, and those were the three. That's awesome, dude. That's awesome. Coffee Traders economic simulation game. I'm kind of into it. Alfred, I think, is the coffee connoisseur of our group. In Osaka, Kyoto, he dragged Paul and myself and a friend of the pod, Matt Patterson, through winding streets to find this tiny little bespoke coffee place that I have no idea what they did. I don't drink coffee, but everyone who drank it was like, this is absolutely incredible. So we'll have to check that out.
So you didn't try it when you were there?
No, I don't drink coffee.
Wow.
Never had.
Not even when in Rome?
No, not even when in Rome.
Wow.
I was working on film sets when I was like 16, 17 years old. And so I was getting in New York City, and it was, 5 a.m. showing up, and everyone around me was, 10 years older than me or more. And they needed 5-6 cups before they could even be civil to each other. And it just it set my mind on like, yeah, that's not something I want to get into. Yeah. And, well, I don't know if it's good for me. I think the reality is that coffee's become something very different than it was back then. Back then, it was cheap and awful, and it was just a drug, right? And I think now it is a connoisseur's item, and I'm a connoisseur of a lot of things. So maybe at some point I'll change my mind on that and go back to it. But for some reason, I still have that bad association. So
have a cup of Joe and play a video game.
Yeah. Or
and then watch the screen.
Are you just trying to
fly out?
Yeah, do a bump, grab a cup of Joe, and play Slay the Spire. That's what you should do, Tom. I want to talk about a 2020 game that we haven't talked about yet. I don't believe. Fayum by Friedman Friese. Jennifer has played it and says that it is really, really good. Friedman Friese is a weirdo. He is this bizarre German with spiky, often green tinted hair, who is kind of the mad genius of the Euro board gaming world. He has designed amazing games, like Power Grid is a Friedman Friese design. Because his name is Friedman Friese, all of his games start with the letter F, and you say, well, Power Grid doesn't start with F. Well, Funkenschlag is what that title is in German. So yes, all of his games are that, and he tries as many of the English titles to be that as well. My favorite Friedman Friese game is a game I talk about all the time, Fresh Fish. Fresh Fish is incredible. It's an incredible negative space game by Friedman Friese. He's done a ton. He's had a whole career of doing amazing games. This one sounds like, I guess the best description of it would be, this is sort of Concordia meets Tribune. It is a game in which you have a hand of cards, and when you play that card, it allows you to take that action. And the action, in many cases, is getting more cards and deciding when to pick up your discard pile so that you have a new hand of cards is a major consideration. It takes place in an oasis area in Egypt 3,900 years ago. When the Nile was starting to be tamed, and swampland was slowly being changed into farmland. And you're a pharaoh's advisor. You're trying to harvest goods, build roads, found settlements, and do everything for the good of the kingdom. If Jennifer says that this is a good game, I think that this might be an amazing game because Jennifer, I know Jennifer, and I know what she likes about games, and there are some elements in this that I think she normally doesn't respond well to. So if she's saying that this game is working really well, I can't wait to play it. It sounds like the choices that you make in card play are going to be so fraught, and there's going to be so many amazing, decisions you have to make between, if I do this, I get this and this and this, and if I do this, I'm setting myself up for next turn where this can happen. And it sounds like a very interesting combinatorial puzzle, and I'm in. Right?
It does. It sounds like your kind of game. I was going to say, like, this is like,
yeah,
you maybe pinpointed my kind of game, and this would be yours.
I think so. I think you're absolutely right. Next up is a chance for you to weigh in. The Toy Awards of 2021, Toy of the Year Awards. You can go to toyawards.org and vote for the Game of the Year. Now, unfortunately, you can't just vote for anything. Here are the selections. Drone Home, the first game with a real flying drone. I'm going to skip that. Fish Club, a classic two-player strategy game with a modern twist. I'm going to skip that. Genius Square is roll the dice and place your blockers, then it's off to the races to fill a grid with colored shapes to complete the square. That one seems a little more interesting. That's a little bit like Blocus, where you have a colored puzzle and you have polyominoes to fill it in. That sounds interesting. But the only game on this list that we've mentioned is Poetry for Neanderthals by Exploding Kittens. Is one of the games of the year that you could vote for. If you have it, if you've played it and you like it, I literally just recommended this game to a friend just the other day. Jesse, are you familiar with Poetry for Neanderthals?
I don't know it, but I know Alon Lee is my friend who designed Exploding Kittens. So he designed this apparently too.
There you go. So Alon came up with this is a word game. So if you think of Taboo, where you have to get somebody to say a certain phrase, but there are all these words on the card that you can't say when you're trying to give them clues to get them to say the right word. Poetry for Neanderthals is like that, except that the communication restriction is that the clue giver can only use single syllable words. and you sound like a caveman. and the other team gets a big blow up club that they get to hit you in the head with if you ever say more than a one syllable word. So for instance, let's suppose you get a clue card and you have to communicate to me Jurassic Park, but you can only use one syllable words. Go.
Rex. How many one syllable words can I use?
As many as you want. They just have to all be
Big Rex eat you.
Tyrannosaurus Rex, dinosaur. So film. Sam. Film. Sam Neill. Yeah, film with Sam Neill. Big Rex eat you. Right?
Yeah. That's cool, yeah.
And it creates this dynamic where you start talking like a caveman. I think it's pretty darn funny. Finishing off the nominees, the Pokemon trading card game Battle Academy is on there. Storytime Chess is on there, and the Upside Down Challenge game. So these are obviously games for younger kids and stuff like that. So if you have younger kids and you're looking for a cool game, check this out. And if you want to, if you wanted to nominate something or give something, well, I guess, is this awards? You know what? I think this is the awards. I think these are the games that got the award. So my mistake on that one. I thought we could vote on them. Instead, what it's saying, select them, but selecting them is not to. Well, no, I guess it is to vote. I don't know. Anyway, check it out.
I'm seeing like a finalist unveiled, but I don't know how old this is.
Yeah, I think it's recent. I think it's very recent. So check it out. And at the worst case, if you have little ones yourself, or if you have to buy for little ones and you want to buy them a game, these are considered the best games of the year. And check them out. I think it's not a bad buying guide for this season. Last but not least, Crystal Palace. I love Crystal Palace. We haven't really talked about it much. I haven't played it much since we reviewed it. We're a little bit of an outlier on it. I think we raved about it, and it hasn't quite gotten the love other places that we gave it, and perhaps that I gave it. It's definitely possible. But there is a mini expansion for Crystal Palace that is available at Capstone Games. If you go to Capstone Games, you can do a print and play newspaper cards mini expansion. There was a dynamic in that game where you collect newspapers for various actions, and those newspapers are kind of like a currency where you can trade them for other things that you need at various ratios. In this case, you have newspaper cards instead, and whenever you are supposed to get a newspaper, you draw a newspaper card from the draw pile and add it to your newspaper cards. And at any time, you can discard a newspaper card to gain a pound, or you can use the cards for the actions that they provide you. Which it sounds, looking it over and knowing Crystal Palace the way I do, I like it. It seems like it's going to add a little more to your strategic planning in the game, and might do some very good things. Now, Jesse, I'm going to ask you: have you played Crystal Palace? Because
no, we when I feel like right before the pandemic, that was on the table, and I think other people had already claimed to play that game, and I played the other game.
Yep.
No.
Yeah,
and it never came back.
Yeah, well, it came out. We played, Trey and I first played it at BGG Con, which was in November of 2019. So, and then by the time we got ourselves the copies of it, it was December, January. So really, we only had a month or two to try and play it, and and we were all playing Barrage at that time too. So that was
right.
that sucked a lot of the air out of the room. Anyway, that is the news.
Hey, if you enjoyed that video, you very well might enjoy the other videos you now see being suggested to you on screen. Also, we'd greatly appreciate it if you could like, share, or subscribe to our Game Brain channel. Thanks so much.